Okay, here is the Rizzler's girl, and I just had to do a quick little Google because I've been wondering since Jody told me that she had this horse for me that what on earth Rizzler is or means, and I didn't want to sound like an idiot if I did this video and said her name and it had some like huge meaning that I should have known but didn't know. But anyway, I actually don't think most people will know this. Google says that it is slang for charisma. So, and I've been calling her Riz. And so basically just girl with a lot of charisma, which I can totally see that actually, so it makes sense. But it doesn't have some big, huge meaning that I'm aware of or that the internet is immediately aware of. Anyway, Riz is a 15-2 and a half hand, but actually quite chunky little girl. She's a 3-year-old by Engage, which is an Into Mischief line. She had 7 career starts and she never broke her maiden. Actually, she never even hit the board, so she never finished better than 4th place. Her last start was on July 11th, so almost a month ago. And so, obviously 7 starts, never hitting the board is plenty enough great reason to decide that a horse isn't going to be a racehorse. And she has been hanging out at my friend Jody's place since right after her last start. So she got almost a month of just straight let down in a field with a big herd of other horses that also all need to come here, but her and somewhere in the country were the first 2 out of the herd to come. Unfortunately, when she came, she had been obviously racing until 7-11, and then they turned her out, and I don't know if they purposely pulled the hind shoes or the hind shoes fell off at some point, but it doesn't really matter. At some point, the hind shoes came off, which is fine because they need to come off anyway, and she developed a big old abscess. So when we got her, almost 2 weeks ago now, actually, she was so lame behind on that right hind. Had my farrier of course we all suspected an abscess. Had my farrier look, sure enough, he said, yeah, it's right. It's gonna come out like right in this area. I can feel it right here. And then sure enough, a couple of days later, just a huge crack opened up in her heel, drained for a couple of days, and now she's good as gold. So that has taken care of itself. And I sat on her once a couple of days ago and it was just almost resolved. Wanted to give it a couple more days. And so here she is today. So this is technically her second post-track ride, even though her first post-track ride really wasn't much more than some walking and a tiny bit of trotting. But nonetheless, doesn't really matter. Okay, so Riz is very much a 3-year-old. You'll see here we're above the contact. She really doesn't understand the contact, which is fine. I would not really expect her to understand the contact, but she's trying very hard. She's communicating with me very well. And I think we about equally, in equal thirds, spent our time above the contact, 1/3 right on par in a lovely contact, and 1/3 below the contact, which is just such a typical thing for like a 3 or 4-year-old who's just had a handful of starts and basically doesn't know anything what they would do. And it's just totally honest, and honestly, it's right where she should be. It's what you would expect a horse to do. And so like in these moments right here, right there, so lovely. I mean, she gives me these, they're actually better than moments. She gives me these like 20-meter circles or these long sides where she's just right on contact, and it's so lovely because she's actually a really cute, sporty little mover. Okay, so obviously here now we've moved to above the contact. So we're having a gentle conversation because she's listening and happy to engage, and it's no emergency. To try and come back to the middle zone, which is where we want her to be, kind of right on the contact. And so here we're still having the conversation, and then here she is. She's starting to come around. She's like, oh, okay, maybe there is something to this. And then here, this is just absolutely beautiful when she has it. I mean, and then, when she has it, obviously she's using herself and she can really move. The horse is actually quite talented. So she sticks exactly 15-2 and a half hands. She's 3 years old. So is she going to grow a bit more? Yes. Is she going to be huge? No. I would suspect that she'll finish around 15-3 or 15-3 and a half hands. I would be surprised if she broke 16 hands. Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball, but that's just kind of what my gut says. So here maybe she's a little bit below the contact here. She's a little ducking behind, and then there you go. She brings her nose up just a touch. That's where I love for her to be, right there. Super beautiful shape. And then now she's creeping a little above. Oh, but she saved it right on contact again. So beautiful. Really such a talented horse. And so good considering just her second post-track ride. So while she is not extremely tall, she actually is quite stout. She's quite a thick little mare. So for everyone's reference, I am 5'9" and I'm 168 pounds. So that's what a larger rider looks like on her. So obviously, I'm probably about as large a rider as you would want to have on her. But honestly, I felt totally comfortable. I actually love riding little horses. I think they're so comfortable. They feel so safe because you're so close to the ground and they're so compact. And I think it's great fun riding little horses. And so here, this is beautiful. I think the moment there when the video picked up, she just had a spook or something. I'm not sure, but obviously she came away from it really nicely on the contact. So Riz, other things about her besides the contact and her ride. She has no vices. She has no injuries. She actually has beautiful, beautiful feet. And she just got done this past week. The only little oddity about her, and if you really pay attention now as I'm talking about it, you can actually kind of see it. You can really see it if you go look at her pictures. And I promise we took lots of pictures of her legs. Is when she was I don't know, a yearling, I'm assuming, or maybe younger. She had some sort of contusion to her left leg right above the knee. And it didn't result in any sort of injury or anything, but it did form a hematoma. She probably got kicked or something, or some interaction with the fencing, like all these horses do. And she developed a hematoma right above the knee. And of course, it all healed up. Everything was fine. However, the fluid that built up there, the knee can be so hard to get fluid out of, or, right above the knee because the knee's sort of holding it up. So she has this little sort of pocket of fluid right above that left front knee. And it's been there now for ages. And my friend Jody, who's known her whole life and has had her over a couple of breaks and things like that, told me that last year they actually decided to drain it. And they did. Vet came, drained it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But then it just filled right back up. So there's really no point trying to drain it again. It's just going to fill back up. It sort of is like the tissue in that area has stretched and is just used to having the fluid there now. And so every time you drain it, it's just going to fill up. It's just not worth doing it anymore. So it's just like some fluid, a little pocket of fluid that developed. It's meaningless. It doesn't affect her at all, and it won't. But it's just a little oddity that she has right above her knee. So just to take note of that. But other than that, she has no vices, no injuries, clean, straight legs. And she's obviously very sound and quite a cute mover. Obviously, here we're a little above the bit. She felt like she was getting tired, though, so I thought that was a good place to end. She actually did really nice canter work. And I was talking about other things while we were cantering. Oh, good, we haven't cantered to the left yet. She actually has a really cute little canter. It's very balanced, athletic, and all the things. I didn't show the right canter transition because it took us like, I think, a full 20-meter circle. And it was just a run-on sentence from the trot into the canter. She just has no clue. So actually that was much, much improved, which is why I left that one in the video. Because I learned, and I'm sure she did also, but I was just like, okay, we're not going to let this transition just drag on forever. I just gave her a kick, and she was a good girl and popped right into it. So when she first steps into that left canter, I felt like I needed to sit for a circle or so, but she just felt a little tight in her back, and she was a little above the contact. So then when I felt like I had her kind of straight and in a balance, the second I got up off her back in a little bit of a half seat, she came round. So she just needed a moment there for her back to relax without the rider sitting on it. And then, of course, once she relaxes, I'm going to ease some weight back into the saddle because she does need to get used to having the seat as an aid. And she was very good about that. So she was great. I really like her. I think she's a really sporty, cute little mare. On the ground, she's very well behaved. This is her getting ready for her ride. She was a little bit muddy, so I'm just hosing off her legs. But she stands really nicely on cross ties. She leads in and out well. She's had 24/7 turnout before she came to me. Now she's out at night. But she's used to being turned out in a mixed herd, and she does really well with others. Yeah, she's just a really easy horse to have around the barn.